Good afternoon. This is Holly Anton. I'm an integrative psychologist at Sutter's Institute for Health and Healing in Santa Rosa. And thanks for joining me today. This is a special wellness call for a couple of reasons. And one of them is it's focused entirely on what is right about you. What is right about you, what is resilient, what is whole, what is good reason for you to feel hopeful and optimistic about your choices moving forward for your life. And so along those lines, what I'll encourage you to do if you'd like is to have a paper, pen handy. If it's better for you to type than opening a doc, just so you can write note to self. And so in this call, I would like to approach it in a couple of different ways, because turns out we have at least 3 ways of knowing things. So one way of knowing, thinking about what is resilient in you, what is your strength and your resourcefulness. One way of considering that is what your head has to say about it, right? Your intellect, what you hear other people say, what you can analyze from past experiences or from your present coping strategies. Another way of knowing anything, and in this case knowing yourself, is what your heart has to say about it. Your heart that is interested in connection, that has both empathy as well as compassion for self and others. And a third way of knowing anything, and in this case yourself, is what your gut offers, what your instinct, but what your instinct has to say, as well as what your instinct actually does for you. So considering your strengths and your resources and your resilience, we're both asking the head and the heart and the gut, as well as just wisely considering what these 3 ways of interacting with our lives bring to the table in terms of strength and resilience and resource. So let's start here then. Now, although I'm going to suggest that we start with the head, start with the intellect, since it gets a lot of airtime anyway during the day, let's first make sure that each of us listens to this invitation to slow down, come into presence in this moment, lay down objectives just for a moment, come into a synchrony with your breath, breathing with your body, adjusting your body so that it feels supported, and a few conscious deep breaths in, breathing into a count of 4, holding at the top of the in-breath for a few moments, and then breathing out to a count of 6 or 7. And a couple more breaths on your own. Clearing breaths, letting go breaths. Because we're about to ask your thinking mind to communicate with you. Your intellect, so what you know about yourself. So under the list of things that you recognize as your strengths, just throw a couple things down there on the page, or to yourself. Finding the word that captures it is a useful experience. So go ahead, even if it's difficult, and try to find a word for that strength, that capacity of yours. And you can consider what other people have said about you that you think is credible. And even if some part of your mind says, oh, I don't really think they mean that, some part of you knows, yeah, actually I think they're probably right. And these are qualities that, when you think about strength and resilience, these are qualities that often are associated with difficult times, right? Because this is when we show our stuff, is in challenging times. We may get a glimpse of our strengths and our resourcefulness during quiet, peaceful, lovely, bountiful times. They're there still, but they're not as upfront and visible as they are in challenging times. So the things that have brought you back to yourself in a difficult moment, whether that's your commitment to your task or to a relationship, whether that's a sense of spiritual connection to a larger truth, whether that's just awareness of your intellectual capacity to problem solve, or to network with others and form collaborations that help in difficult times. So your mind has a treasure trove of experiences to pull from that show how you show up in difficult times in ways that you honor in yourself. And if more come to mind, of course, just continue to add them to the list. Now, check in with the heart, that part of you that is connected to others, human, animal, nature. It's intimate with the moment. The felt sense of being connected to all that is important to you, and where you feel that in the chest. This way of being in challenging situations, that which doesn't forget your connectedness during difficult moments, that which seeks connection with someone or something. That's a strength. That's a beautiful part of you that makes the effort to remember that you're not in this all by yourself, even in a moment where you feel like you are. There's a part of you that wakes up at some moment and remembers to reach out, either to get a hand or reach out to offer a hand, to touch or experience those parts of life that you're connected to, whether that's music, whether that's touching the trunk of a tree, holding a photograph, writing a letter, making a phone call. That inclination to stay connected or to long for connection if connection doesn't seem possible. This is a strength. This is part of resilience. So whatever your words or thoughts or things that might help you remember and reconnect, and remember that this is something you can draw on, write something down. Note to self. And the recollection of challenging moments, or the realization of the present moment if it's challenging, it invites a response of some sort. So in our shining moments, our gut response in a time of challenge, at our best, our gut response is amazing, sometimes far more strong or powerful or resilient than we had any idea we were holding in ourselves. And if you haven't had that moment yet in your life, you will. But to touch with the instinctive part of yourself, and I think of this metaphorically, physically, as being the gut, but whatever for you represents your instinctive strength, response, responsiveness, responsibility in a tough moment or during a tough period of time. Checking in with that part of yourself. What do you honor about that response to tough times? What do you aspire to that you know you have in you? What have you seen yourself do? Whether that was externally as a behavior or just internally as a shift in perspective. And you can ask your gut to offer up in this moment an image, a picture, an experience, an idea, a symbol, a word, a feeling of what it has to offer you in moments of need, your need or someone else's. And if there's a phrase that captures that you can write down, all the better. Now take a breath and take a look at that collection of observations, statements, aspirations, memories. And breathe it in. Sometimes people, I find, in my work, I find it's very uncomfortable sometimes for people to receive constructive, positive feedback. Some people are all so ready to receive critical feedback, but offer them a genuine compliment and it can get really uncomfortable. And so I encourage people to literally breathe it in. Take in the positive feedback on an inhale. And as you breathe out, let it settle in the body. Let it find its settling, its resting place in the body as you breathe out. And then take a look at that collection that you have on that piece of paper or in your mind. Take one and breathe it in. And if other thoughts come up that seem, off target or not in line with the intention of this moment, you can benignly neglect them. Whatever, you'll get to those some other moment, but not this one. This one is about focusing in then, again, on that list. Whatever jumps out at you as most deeply true and valued about yourself. Focusing in on that, breathe it in. And as you breathe out, let that find its resting place in the body, where it settles down. So at this point, I'm going to introduce another tool, or another way of accessing accessing your strengths, accessing information about your strengths. And this is an offering. If it doesn't fit for you, of course, you don't have to do this. But I would like to make an introduction. I'd like to introduce you to yourself in 5 years, or whatever time frame works best for you. This is your future self. I'd like you to meet your future self far enough along, far enough into the future that this you has navigated these particular challenges. They are now a part of the history, a part of what you now know from this future self, what this future self now knows. He or she ended up doing in the midst of all of these changes and challenges. and is now actually on to enjoying a very integrated, whole, lovely life filled with things that matter to them. So in meeting your future self, just to invite you to get comfortable in your seat. If you're comfortable allowing your eyes to close. And in your mind's eye, sitting across the room from you, looking at you with such loving, smiling eyes. This future self reaching back to you across the years, wanting nothing more than just offer a couple of helpful things for you to hear today. This future self knows that you're going to make it to where they are anyway. So she is not worried about that, but can definitely see you could use some reassurance along around this time. So taking a moment, first just connecting wordlessly. Notice what you feel in your body. Notice what you feel behind your eyes. As you connect with this wiser being that looks a lot like you but a little older. And this being is reaching out to you in every conceivable way, reaching back through time to shine a light on the path. That's all. To offer you something that you need to feel or to remember. And if you have a question, you can ask it. And breathing in whatever form of help is being offered, just breathing it into this body, this moment. And breathing out, let it find its resting place in the body. And I hope you'll have a few minutes at the end of this call before you have to do whatever is to come next. Have a few minutes to hang out with this future self if you choose to. Even if it's just wordlessly enjoying a moment of connection together. Soaking in the compassion and the goodwill being transmitted to you from your future. So get ready to end the call. Just take one more moment and write anything down on that piece of paper or note to self in whatever form that you want to remember to come back to. And so as I said at the beginning of the call, this is a special call for a couple of reasons. And one of them is that I wanted to give you these things that I hope are helpful. And another is that our format of these noon calls is going to be changing moving forward here, and that the calls will be on Monday and Wednesday and Thursday, same time. The Tuesday calls won't be happening anymore. Friday calls won't be happening. But Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, please do continue to come. There will always be one of us from Institute for Health and Healing offering some bits of wisdom and goodwill toward you. And if you know of anyone who you think might appreciate the call or the skills or the support, please encourage them to call. You're welcome to send me an email if you need a new invitation, a new Skype invitation. I know there's been a little bit of difficulty with those, so if you or know someone else who's been having difficulty figuring out how to get into the Skype calls, feel free to email me. My email is Anton, ANTONHW, ANTONHW @sutterhealth.org. This is my final wellness call to you. I may pop in here and there, and pinch hitter every now and then as needed, but for now I will say farewell, and I am so glad that you were here today, and if you've been here on other calls, thank you for supporting us as we like to support you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and encourage you to come back tomorrow, Wednesday at noon, and we will continue to look out for you. All right. Until then, this is Holly Anton. I'm an integrative psychologist at Sutter's Institute for Health and Healing in Santa Rosa. And wishing you a good day.